big question has to be, how much value is in the global pharmacy market? And that has to be a question that's asked. And wait until we get to that second chapter. We always seem to arrive at this point. Trust me, you're going to want to hear that. So, but first, let's knock this out of the way. This is what it says. In 2024, the global pharmacy market saw significant financial activity. Now, hold on. We're talking about this because the other day there was some pharmaceutical company with a bunch of branches that said that they are intending to integrate XRP. Obviously, they mean the XRPL, right? They're going to use the XRPL. I don't think just in one way, although they'll probably start with one or two different ways, and if that goes successfully, then obviously they'll branch out into more use cases. However, this is where they're starting, but that's what they said. And I even saw this reported on I think payments.com as well was talking about that. So it's serious. But my first question is always, how much value is there? How much continuity is there? Obviously, there's a lot of continuity. It's pharmacies. It's pharmaceuticals. People are always going to need medicine. They're always, so let's read this little tidbit here. This is what it says. Global pharmacy market value in 2024. In 2024, the global pharmacy market saw significant financial activity, with multiple reports providing estimates of the total value flowing through pharmacies worldwide. Here are the key figures and insights from the search results. All right, so listen, folks, make sure when we're dealing with numbers, you do your own research, all right? But this is just what it pulled up for me. So now, it says, number one, pharmacy market. This is including retail, online, which let's clarify, online pharmacy activities are getting huge. They've been getting big, or growing rather, over the last few years, especially with who is it that was pushing that heavily? I think it was Amazon. Amazon has their online pharmacy thing. I'm not sure how that works, but I believe they do. So it's been growing. So that's going to be significant as more and more people do things online. But let's keep going. And hospital pharmacies, they're including as well in these numbers. The global pharmacy market was valued at $2.4 trillion in 2024. I actually thought it would be a little bit more than that. You want to be honest. But $2.4 trillion, that's nothing to turn one's nose up at for sure. Growing at a CAGR of 5% from 2024 to predicted to grow to 2035. And of course, these numbers can fluctuate wildly depending on who's doing the calculations and what data they're working with. Another report estimated the pharmacies and drugstores market, retail and drugstore sales, at $1.33 trillion in 2024 with a 7.2% CAGR projected for the year. Wait, let me scroll down. Bear with me. Prescription dispensing revenues in the U.S., total prescription dispensing revenues, including retail, mail order, and specialty pharmacies, reached $683 billion in 2024, up 9% from 2023. So now let's establish also, once again, when you're dealing with industries like this, there's a continuity there. What is a continuity? What does that mean for bank coin companies that might be involved? Like they they claim they're going to be using the XRPL. All right. And not only that, they also claim that they're going to be using XRP in some sort of treasury for their company. So there's that as well. But what does it mean when a continuity here? It means that value is going to be constantly flowing. That's good. That should lend, theoretically, I'm not sure how much, do your own calculations, but that should lend in a higher value, continuous value flow through the XRPL one, and possibly a higher XRP price if that value flow is high enough. Let me put that caveat in there, right? So we shall see. But this could get interesting. And here's the thing. This is one pharmaceutical chain. This is one talking about it. How many others are interested, but they just haven't jumped on the opportunity just yet? But it shows that there's big interest in the XRPL, right? Which is a great thing since we're still so early. We're just getting through some major hurdles just now. And if these companies are approaching XRPL with such zeal, approaching a lot of Bankcoin companies right now, actually, there are a lot of good progress being made. But if they're approaching these chains and technology with such zeal now, then how much more will they do it later when everything's completely unleashed, completely in the clear? All the other companies are using them. And then, companies do have a monkey see, monkey do attitude much of the time. They do. They see other big companies doing it and they say, let me do that as well. And not to say that they'll all use the XRPL. I'm not saying that. I mean, some may use Hedera. Some may use Chainlink, Solana, something else. Who knows? And some that I don't even cover. They may use that as well. But there's certainly enough value to go around. And this is definitely something to keep in mind if we're interested in a skyrocketing XRP price. Now, we have a multitude of very, very big catalysts when it comes to XRP that have not been negated. What has negated interbank payments? Nothing. RWA? Nothing. I mean, so if a negative catalyst does appear, then we will have to take that into account. One that's significant enough to cancel out all of that positivity, then we'll have to take that into account. But as of now, I don't see it. So now, one little last piece. It says here, another report. So we're getting multiple sources of information here. Another report placed the global pharmaceuticals market at 1.38 trillion in 2023, growing at a 3.1% CAGR. All right. So now, just to round that out, I wanted to know, hey, what are all the ways that DLT significantly impacts the pharmaceutical industry to ensure, I like to know things like that, to ensure that they're going to need it long term. And then I know how long they may be pumping value into it, utilizing it, maybe. And then that may tell me how long the price might go up or how high it might go up. Then with that information, I also may know how much value, I didn't think I said that already, how much value they may be pumping into it over the years, considering growth and taking growth expectations into account. Then we might know a little bit more clearly how high the price might go. You got to make your own personal calculations, of course, and not financial advice. But this is what it says. It says global pharmacies can harness DLT to achieve enhanced traceability. We know they need that for sure. 100% we know they need that. Traceability and prevention of counterfeit products, reduce administrative overhead via automated smart contracts, greater regulatory compliance and immutable accessible records, superior inventory and supply chain management using real-time data, strong data security and privacy through decentralized storage solutions, faster and more efficient cross-border payments, obviously, improved quality assurance and quicker recall responses. Of course, if something goes wrong, you know exactly what batch it was, when it went out, where it's at right now. Probably can just press a button and put a stop to everything, right? So there's that. And then, of course, they end off with actionable insights for optimizing future operations, because that's so much. There's so much more data you're going to have utilizing DLT systems. And I shouldn't say have, but have access to. All right, so then there's that. But now I want to get to this. OK, let me get to this. Now, this here, we always arrive at this point there. And I don't understand why this wasn't being spoken about more. There's a variety of reasons why people over the years have already been talking about the coming liquidity crisis. There is first of all, there's a global liquidity crisis. We all know that. But in the US, there has been this building liquidity crisis. It's just that they've been throwing band-aids on what is akin to a bullet wound. But that hasn't changed anything. And of course, it's not hot news right now, so not a lot of people are talking about it. However, here we go. Now they're talking about it. This article is titled Billionaire Chamath Palihapitiya. Well, I got it. Palihapitiya warns one metric is hinting U.S. liquidity crisis. Says credit health of Americans, wait, is blinking yellow. Remember I was talking about, this was about maybe 2 years ago. I used to talk frequently about the M2 money supply and how people's savings accounts were bottom out. We read the data from multiple sources. People's savings accounts were emptied, bottomed out. Then, because of that, we read more information here on the channel that told us people were relying on their credit cards. We covered that all the way up until last year. They were maxing out their credit cards. Remember that? So we've been speaking about this. Is nothing new. And I wish that people like this, who they garner a lot of attention, would talk about that before it's too late. But anyway, here we go. Let me read this little tidbit to you. Investors use the price to book ratio to evaluate whether asset heavy firms like banks are undervalued or overvalued. But the billionaire venture capitalist notes that the final financial metric can also be used as an early warning signal for a potential liquidity crisis in the U.S. Here's this quote. It says, what it shows you is the spread where credit acceptance is versus Capital One. And the point in bringing this up is that when you look back historically around these subprime lenders, whenever these guys start to see price to books just start to escalate and to get highs, it tends to portend a liquidity crisis. It tends to show that things are about to roll over. And from that perspective, I think there are some blinking yellow lights that the Fed needs to take seriously. Wait a minute. Now, if you're understanding it, I'm going to say this. I mean, no disrespect. I don't trust the Fed right now. Not that I ever trust the Fed. I'm not saying that. I mean, right now, in particular, I would not trust the Fed. They have a lot. The Fed has a lot of tension with certain actors within the U.S., and I don't believe that they're beyond sabotage. They're at the end of, a lot of the ones at the top of the Fed are at the end of their careers also. That's a dangerous energy to have right there, where someone's at the end of their career. What happens really doesn't affect them. They're not looking to monkey bar their way to another position. And yet openly there is tension there between them and those who may have a little bit more power than them. So I don't know that I would not rely on the Fed to prevent such a thing. I think that they would lean more towards letting it happen, right? Letting it happen. And then, I mean, who really gets the blame? And to go a step further, I don't think there's any right now, any coming back. I think this is a storm that people have to walk through. The typical lifestyle, the lifestyle of the typical U.S. citizen is very, very luxurious. Let's say that. Like, I know some people may disagree with that. I get it. That may be what you're seeing in your environment, but let's just be real. People nowadays, regular people, they want luxury shoes. They want a luxury belt. Their belt has to be luxury. Their shirt has to be a $500 shirt. Come on. Their car has to be some car people are going to talk about. They're used to a luxurious lifestyle, even if it's not what they probably should be living. They probably should be saving their capital. And I mean, there's better ways to allocate that capital. I just don't think we're going to see that right now. So yes, credit cards are going to continue to get maxed out. This is going to continue to exacerbate, if I'm using that word correctly. It's a storm you got to walk through, I think. So, but let's go here. I just wanted to put that on your table. Liquidity crisis is back in the conversation. It says, quote, some of the most critical leading indicators, particularly around liquidity and credit health of the American consumer, are blinking yellow. So right now, and I ran those two sentences together. So right now, they are choosing to ignore these historically useful leading indicators. All right, well, let's continue on here. All right, so that's where they leave it. Maybe we'll hear a little bit more. That was interesting. I like that they actually brought that up. Good article. So now let's go here to just a wee bit of Bitcoin news. And we're going to end off with a little bit of gold. They're starting to believe. They're starting to believe in gold. All right. It's getting undeniable now, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's cover this Bitcoin news here. So two types of news I enjoy studying. Crypto news, because there's always something new and fresh, right? And science. Have you been keeping up with science, especially quantum science and all the new stuff that's going on? I like interesting stuff. I want to learn. I want to grow. And this stuff is like, there's always something to learn. So especially with science. But let's go here, okay? So Bitcoin challenges $105,000 on positive weekend macro headlines. Look at what Bitcoin is doing, and none of the major catalysts even kicked in yet. None of them. What is it going to do? Sorry about that. I don't mean to get too loud. My apologies. What is it going to do when those major catalysts kick in? Wait, no, because I already had it pulled up. I got the price pulled up right now. At the time of this video, which this video will release probably about 4 or 5 hours later after I record it. It's just how it goes. But at the time of this video, Bitcoin is at $104,304. So, I mean, to say that it's, how did they phrase it? It's challenging 105. It's knocking, it's at the door. 105. I'm starting to think about 110 already. That's where my mind goes. 105 is nothing. It's at 104 right now. What happens when all the nations start having massive amounts in a Bitcoin reserve? You think they're just going to work with what they confiscated? No, come on. Now, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. They know it. Why do you think all the big businesses are getting in position first? Now, you might say, Mick, well, you just said nations, then you just referenced businesses. The businesses and the nations are like this. The businesses, the big timers, the big banks, the large asset managers, they control the nations. All that lobbying money. What do you think that's control? So what happens, and from my estimation, because of all of those connections, they allow the big businesses to get in position first. And then they get in position. Listen, if you disagree, tell me something different. They allow them to get in position. And then the nations kind of hold off and they feed you a bunch of nonsense. I would actually reach to call them liars. They just lie to the people. Oh, we're just going to do this. Later on, they'll turn around and do the opposite and nobody will say anything. It's always that way. So, but first, the businesses get in position. That's what's happening now. Then later, the nations will do it. What happens at that time if we're already at 104 now? Is it far-fetched to think $120,000 Bitcoin might be easy, might be very easy? So then after we stretch our minds there, which is not much of a stretch, 150K, I don't think is unreasonable. And I could say I think 150 possibly could be easy as well. And that's where I would stop with the easy prediction and saying, well, that might be easy. That's where I would stop. 150K, I think will be easy at some point. But first, break through the barrier of 120K. Yes, we're at 104 right now, so we still have some ways to go. But I'm considering possibilities. This is my opinion. It doesn't have to be yours. Not financial advice. Make up your own mind about how you feel about those things. But these are my thoughts, Bitcoin's looking good. It's looking good. Hopefully we keep this good energy and probably have a little correction, a little dip. Listen, looking at how things are going right now, probably we'll have a little bit of that. Probably. And a little bit of profit taking. I don't think that they want, and yes, I'm going to say there is a certain controlling energy within crypto that I think is undeniable at this time. Once again, just my humble opinion. And I think that they will act to bring that down a little bit. I don't think they want people too bullish right now. It's not the time just yet. Like I said, the major catalysts are just sitting there. And I do feel that collective energy at the top, when they're ready, they'll do like that and issue the word, and those catalysts will be acted upon. They control the people that act upon those catalysts. Like I said, like the Bitcoin reserves, they control those people. They have a heavy influence with those people. If they don't, if those businesses are not the ones who are paying for $8,000, $5,000 a plate dinners for those actors within the countries who are only making 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 a year to become multi millionaires, right? If they don't do that, those people don't reach those heights of wealth. They just don't. All right. So that's a lot of control to have. That's a lot of power to have. You're literally ensuring generational wealth for certain people. They're going to listen to what you say. So yes, they do have the power if they should choose to say, hey, act on that. And those people are probably going to do that. Do they have to? No. But if they don't, why would they continue to lobby them or buy their dinners or buy their books to funnel money to them? I don't think that they would. So there's a lot of incentive there. That's why I think in that way, I consider that a possibility. I'm not saying that's the be all end all. I'm not an absolutist, but I'm saying I keep my eye on that type of activity. All right. So, wow. All right. So now let me stop there and let me go here. Let us go here. A little bit of gold news, a little bit of gold. Gold. I love gold also because of its simplicity. It's much more straightforward. The reasonings behind it and the necessity of having it during a lot of geopolitical tension. Here's what they're saying about gold. This is from Yahoo Finance. Gold could soar 80% to $6,000 if there's even a minuscule shift away from U.S. assets, analysts say. All right, so let's read a little bit further. Analysts at J.P. Morgan estimated that the price of gold could reach $6,000 per ounce by 2029. Could you imagine? Oh, man. I tell you, I feel thankful. I feel good. But anyway, let's continue to read. Up from about $3,300 now, if just 0.5% of U.S. assets held by foreign investors is reallocated to the precious metal, gold has been on a tear in recent years and picked up even more momentum. All right. Scroll down past this ad. What's this ad for? I get the most random ads. This one is here for like the nursing exam. I believe that's what it is. It says pass the NCLEX. Well, I hate to break it to you. I'm not in the medical field. I guess that means all those cookie blockers and stuff I have are working. They don't know what I do. The price of gold has been on a tear in recent years and could reach astronomical heights by the end of the decade if foreign investors shift away slightly from the U.S., according to analysts at J.P. Morgan. Why do they repeat themselves so much? I like to read new stuff, but they repeat themselves from the top. It says that's because the supply of gold isn't expanding by much, meaning that a relatively minuscule boost in demand can create a big price swing. Quote, while hypothetical, this scenario illustrates why we remain structurally bullish on gold and think prices have further to run, unquote, analysts wrote. I think gold is going higher as well. I think what I'm looking at right now is $4,000. That's what I'm looking at, to being reasonable. I don't have any thoughts beyond that, but if anyone were to say I'm semi-permanent or permanent in something, it would be gold. It would be. I trust gold. I just don't see a negative catalyst to drag it down permanently or significantly enough for someone like myself to be concerned with it at all. I think it's going to do well, but $6,000. Wow. But I mean, the timeline that they're given it's not far-fetched. This is highly reasonable. Considering what we have seen, it's highly reasonable. Gold has jumped more than 20% so far this year, and prices have doubled from where they were 3 years ago. Wonderful times. So, once again, if you enjoyed this video, please, once again, I won't ask all the time, right? Please click that like button if you enjoyed this video. Also, please, if you're kind enough, leave a little comment for the algorithm. The algorithm, it likes that stuff. So, now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.